Hello, YouTube, and Happy New Year's Eve for, I suppose, most of you who are watching. Today I'm going to share with you something very powerful and very special, which I'm calling the Echo Manifestation Principle. And if you recognize that picture of Narcissus and Echo, then perhaps you may get an idea of where I'm going with this. The Echo Manifestation Principle is an actual force that you can tap into, which will force the matrix to give you good things, if that's your focus. Hello, everybody. This is Mahadeva, the Thunder Wizard. And again, as I said, Happy New Year. My apologies. I came on a few minutes late. I don't know what the heck's wrong with me. I thought it was 10:45. But no, I had set it for 10:30. Before we go any further, we do have a bunch of stuff available for you. We do have the new Interdimensional Shamanic Journey Meditation course. I just uploaded a video meditation having to do with this very principle that we're going to talk about. I'm not going to talk about the meditation technique in today's video because we don't need to. You don't need that in order to get this principle going. But there is a very powerful meditation which I'd like to share with you. And on audiobooks.thunderwizard.com, we have a brand new audiobook out, Interdimensional Revolution. You can check that out. And of course, we do have the Interdimensional Meditation course at thunderwizard.com, as well as the 90-day challenge. All right, so why is this picture here? This picture is of Narcissus, who's staring at his reflection in the pond, and then there is a nymph whom you've probably never heard of, and her name is Echo. And when you understand this myth, I hadn't heard it until recently, the whole thing. I had heard of Narcissus staring at himself in the pond, and whole narcissism being wrapped up in your being self-absorbed. But there's a whole other aspect to the myth that really explains a lot. I'm just going to go ahead and share the myth with you, but before I do that, let me tell you what the Echo principle is. So, you know what it's like when you are in a cave or you're out in the mountains and there's a big cliff in front of you or something, and you scream, hello, 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 and your own voice comes back at you. And if you say an entire sentence, what will happen is you'll only be able to hear the last few words of that sentence. But you can say whatever you want to yourself. You say, I'm the king of the world. I'm the king of the world. Whatever it is that you say will bounce back to you. And I'm sure you understand the concept of projection. We talk about that all the time. Psychologically, projection is when you see something in another person that they actually don't have, but it's something that you are feeling or doing, and you don't have the ability consciously to see that you're doing it, or it makes you so uncomfortable you deny it, and then you see it in other people. Cheaters do this all the time. Like when a cheater when your spouse grabs your phone and says, "Who are you texting? I know you're texting somebody." Not all the time, but much of the time, that is a sign that they are actually cheating on you. And they can't tolerate the feeling of it, so they project it onto you. You're cheating on them. So, in your life, you have the ability to create in your physical reality your projection. If you have a clean lower self, which we talk about here in the Mastery of Shamanism course at thunderwizard.com. If you have a clean lower self, then you will project and create into your external reality what is inside of you. If you are able to accept the assumption that the universe loves you and you deserve to be healthy and prosperous, you will project that into your reality. So I gave you the example of, you're going up a mountainside and there's a big giant cliff, across a ravine. And if you yell, your voice will bounce off of that cliff and come back to you, right? So imagine the web of weird, or the matrix, which is a matrix of conscious life force energy that creates our external reality. And imagine that matrix is a blank screen. What you speak, quote unquote, to that will bounce back off of that to you. So if you have difficulty manifesting wealth, for example, there's a very good chance that you are projecting that, a fear of financial security. You don't feel worthy. You don't think, the universe doesn't love you. Everybody's out to get you. Whatever it is, you have that. You're projecting that out, and it's bouncing back at you in the form of your experience of lack of money, for example. So now let's get into the myth. You understand that. So just bear with me, because when we get to the other side of this myth, you are going to see an absolutely incredibly profound principle that if you use it, it can completely transform you as well as your manifested reality. All right, so let's get into the myth here. All right, so it starts off with Zeus, the god Zeus. As you know, Zeus and Indra, same deity. Zeus and Indra, in this case just Zeus. Zeus loves to go down to earth and enjoy physical pleasures with women, human women, or nymphs. And there's one place he likes to go, which is a mountain. I forget the name of the mountain in Greece. But he likes to go to this mountain, and on this mountain there are nymphs. These are, I guess, nature spirits. They're feminine nature spirits. They're very sensual, very lusty, and he likes to go down and cavort with them. Now his wife Hera, she happens to be goddess of heaven. She can see everything, in the manifested universe. She probably has a lot of psychic abilities. She knows this about him, so she's constantly, when he leaves, she's constantly watching him. She's texting him all the time and, trying to FaceTime him just to make sure, where are you at? What are you doing? And so Zeus knows this. So he goes down to his favorite mountain with these nymphs, and he wants to have some sexual cavorting with them. And there's one nymph, her name is Echo, and she has a magical ability to seduce you with her words. And she is extremely good at creating stories. And so when she talks to you, you will become totally absorbed in whatever story she's telling you. So Zeus says to this beautiful nymph, I'm sorry, sweetheart, I can't be with you today because I need you to go and distract my wife. Will you just go tell her a story for a couple of hours so that, I can have some fun and she won't find out what's going on? And so Echo agrees, and she flutters on up to Mount Olympus and flutters into Hera's bedroom. And Hera says, "What are you doing here?" And she says, "Mother Hera, I came out of love for you, and I want to share with you this beautiful story that I've just made up. Would you like to hear it? May I entertain you with a story?" And Hera says, well, if you can keep my attention and I like it, I'll listen to it till the end. So Echo starts to tell this story and tells this very long, elaborate, very entertaining story that completely distracts Hera. She gets really wrapped up in it. And then at the end, she finally figures out that something's going on, looks over Echo's shoulder and can see with her psychic eyes that Zeus is in fact cavorting with her nymph sisters, because she knows who these nymphs are, with her nymph sisters, and she understands what happens, that Zeus has used her to distract Hera so that he can cheat on her, and she's very furious about this. So she curses Echo, and she says, since you take so much pride in your ability to speak, I'm going to take that away from you. Except that the only time you will be able to speak is to repeat the last few words of what anybody says to you. You will not be able to come up with anything of your own ever again. You'll only be able to repeat their last few words. And this devastates Echo, because this was where she enjoyed it. It was her passion. It was her gift. And she had nothing now to codependently get her value from. She couldn't get any value from it. She couldn't value herself based on her ability to weave this story. So she's sent back down to Earth. She's heartbroken. A bunch of other stuff happens that you don't need to know about. And then Narcissus, he comes and he gets lost. He's walking through the forest with some other hunters, and he gets lost on this mountain. Now, what's interesting to know about Narcissus is that he's also been cursed. He was cursed at birth for something, I can't remember what it was. I believe that he was also half nymph. I think his mother was a nymph. And he was cursed that he would never know who he was. Now, if you understand narcissism, you know that narcissism comes from a lack of identity. They don't have an identity. They don't know who they are. Narcissus is cursed that he will never know who he is. And so as a result, he can't love anybody. He's the most beautiful man on earth, and both men and women fall madly in love with him and throw themselves at him, and he rejects everybody because none of them are good enough for him. And it's because he doesn't know himself. He can't love himself. How can he know and love somebody else? It's another way of saying he has no empathy. He has no empathy because he has no self. You can't have empathy without a self. So he was out hunting with a bunch of other hunters, and he got lost. And so he's walking in this mountain forest, and sure enough, the nymphs see him and go after him. He rejects all of them because they're not good enough. But Echo is absolutely taken with him. She is just heartsick, in love with this man. And she can't, as you know, she can't use her gift on him. If she could probably, weave a tale and maybe narcissistically entrance his ego, but she doesn't have that ability. She can only respond with the last words that anybody says to her. So she can't help herself but follow him. But she's too afraid to say anything, or obviously, and she's too afraid to let herself known, because this has gotten her into trouble already. Because as you can imagine, only being able to repeat the last few words of whatever somebody says can get you in a lot of trouble. So Narcissus is lost in the woods, and he's looking around for his friends, and he's saying, "Hello?" And Echo would say, "Hello?" And he'd say, "Oh, my friends." He'd say, "Hey, this is Narcissus. Where are you? I'm close by. I'm close by." Oh, he's saved. He's found his friends. He's found somebody. It goes on like that, and he's asking the right questions, and the last few words will always make it sound like somebody is coming to him and helping him and guiding him to where he needs to go. It sounds like I can hear you. It sounds like I'm almost there. Almost there. Right? So she's giving him hope that he's going to, the symbolism is that he'll find himself. She's giving him hope that he'll find himself. But all she's doing is repeating his last few words. So this goes on for a while, and then she makes a mistake, and she doesn't hide in time as he's coming around the bend, and she sees him, and she's smitten by him, and she can't move, and he sees her, and then he gets very upset. And he says, "Who are you?" She says, "Who are you?" And he said, "I asked you first." She says, "I asked you first." And it goes back and forth like that. And he says, "I think you're just mocking me." She says, "I think you're just mocking me." And so it becomes very frustrating for him. Now, all the while, she's madly in love with him. And she can't communicate, so she reaches out and grabs him, hoping that he'll feel. But he's Narcissus. He can't feel anybody else. He doesn't have the ability to have any empathy. He's not going to stop and go, "Wait, what's really going on with this person?" And so he throws her off of himself, and he says, "What in the world makes you think that I love you?" To which she responds, "I love you. I would never love you. There's no way that you're going to get close to me. Leave me alone. Leave me alone." It's just tragic and horrible. So as you can imagine, that didn't work out. She's absolutely heartbroken, and you can imagine the turmoil she's going through. So Narcissus is still lost. He's looking around, and he comes across this pond, and he sees his own reflection. And because the one thing that he wants most of all is to get to know himself, he falls madly in love with the reflection that's looking back at him. And he's looking at this amazing, beautiful, the most beautiful creature on earth, and he falls madly in love with it. And he reaches out for it, and it reaches out to him. But as soon as he hits the water, the image, goes away, and and he can't stand the thought of not being able to see the reflection. And he waits, and sure enough, the reflection comes back, and the reflection is looking at him longingly. And they try to touch each other, they try to kiss each other, they try to connect, and they can't. Every time they're just about to connect, the signal gets all screwed up. So the only thing he can do is stare longingly at this beautiful being, which of course is himself. And what is his curse? He would never know himself. So he can't take his gaze away from his own reflection. And so, since he can't touch, since he can't hold, embrace, kiss this perfect being that he wants to connect with so badly, he talks to him. Echo is there watching this. It's breaking her heart because that's exactly how she feels with him. And she wants so badly to let him know, "I can be there for you. I can love you." But she can't initiate any words. And he's rejected her, but she can't stay away from him. And so as he's looking at himself, he says, to his reflection, he says, "I love you." And Echo responds, "I love you." It talked back to me. This being in the water talked back to me. "You're the most beautiful creature on earth. The most beautiful creature on earth. I want to spend my life with you. I want to spend my life with you." You can imagine how this continues to go on and on and on and on. And now we have the absolutely brilliant description of the narcissistic codependent relationship. That the only thing that happens in these relationships is that the codependent, who cannot speak for herself, who doesn't have any value in and of herself, she reaches out to this man who cannot see himself. He cannot find himself. And she gives words to his lifeless reflection. And her only value to him is that she says the words that he's trying to put into his own mouth. And the longing of everybody, the two of them, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And Narcissus can't leave the pond and he begins to starve to death. And he does. He finally starves to death and he dies. And as his lifeless body is lying there, she can't say anything. She can't even mourn for him. She can only caress him, his dead body that can't respond to him, that won't respond to him. And because she doesn't get any love given back to her, she fades away into nothing except for her voice, which goes into the lonely places of the world, which goes into the caves, goes into the mountains, goes into the deserts, goes into empty places. And to this day, when anybody in any of these places speaks, she will respond with the last few words that comes out of your mouth. Now, that's an amazing story, isn't it? It just describes narcissism and the sadness of it and the hopelessness of those relationships. But here's the thing. That is only the 3D reflection of that. There is a 5D powerful truth that if you turn it around and look at it from the fifth dimensional perspective and use this power, you can do to yourself the exact opposite that happens in this story, where both of these characters completely lose their identity and their identity is continuously pulled out of them until there's nothing left and they fade into nothing. What if you could have the opposite? The opposite of that, it can be done if you understand how to use this echo principle. Let's go back now to the understanding that what you project out reflects back to you. So, your mother, if she said this to you, my mother said it to me, she was absolutely correct and she has no idea the power behind it. Your mother may have said to you, if you don't have anything nice to say to somebody, don't say anything at all. Why? Well, you remember what happened between Narcissus and Echo. When Narcissus was wrapped up in his own needs, he would always say something positive. I'm almost there. I think I see you. I can't wait to talk to you. Right? And she would respond, almost there. I can almost see you. I can't wait to talk to you. It's because he's saying positive things and she can only respond with what he's just said. So if he says positive things, she will say positive things that he will enjoy hearing. But then when he's confronted with her and he sees that it is another human being that has their own individuality, he's turned off. He can't stand it. So his self-directed negativity comes out. And he says, I hate you. And what does she say? I hate you. I wish you were never born. She says, I wish you were never born. She can't say anything but what he has just said to her, even if it's horrible. But it's coming from his negativity. So whatever she says is going to be a response based on what he is putting out. He represents you. Echo represents the matrix, the conscious matrix. As I have been teaching you this whole time, that the matrix loves you. It is a conscious being, but it is here only to serve you. And the matrix has been told that you must give human beings exactly what they ask for. Your job is to be a blank screen and reflect back to them what they want. You must assume that a human being is God incarnate. And if God says he wants to be miserable, then it is your job to decide, well, God is trying to figure something out. So if he wants to be homeless and penniless and live on the streets and be a drug addict, then that's what I'm going to manifest for him, because that's what he's asking for. Echo's job Echo can only give you what you give to her. In this case, Maya, illusion. Illusion can be wonderful. People use the word illusion and it always has a negative connotation to it. But illusion can be beautiful. The goddess Venus is a goddess of illusion. She loves everything that is in this illusion that we live in. Music, art, science, food, comfy clothes, sex, love. All of these things are Maya. They're illusion. But they're wonderful and beautiful. And they're these things, the more that you give to it, the more you get back from it. Same is true with abuse. You heap abuse on people, they heap it back onto you. You come to the universe with a negative attitude about yourself. You don't feel valuable. You don't feel lovable. You're full of rage. You're full of resentment. You're full of victim mentality. You spew that out onto the matrix and it will reflect it back at you 100%. Exactly what you just said, what you just thought, what you just felt, the actions that you take. All right, so now you get it? Now, I'm going to give a twist to this that you never thought of before. And this came to me as a result of realizing that my friends here do the same thing that Echo does, but from a fifth dimensional perspective, which is they only tell you the truth about you that is powerful and uplifting. I have never once, in all of my communications with my higher dimensional friends, they have never once said anything critical, anything that brought me down in any way. Anything that they say to me appeals to my deepest inner desires for myself, appeals to my healthy ego, appeals to my self-love. It's absolutely phenomenal what they do. And like Narcissus, the first few times that it happened, I started thinking, what are these beings doing? They must be lying to me. Why are they trying to abuse me? And then I realized, wait a minute, they're not doing anything. I'm just resisting the unconditional positive messages that they're coming. It's challenging to my ego because we are attached to our self-denigration, our negative self-talk. We are attached to it because we believe in our unconscious mind, our 3D unconscious mind believes that if we want to be loved and accepted, if we've been trained to criticize ourselves, to think less of ourselves, we will do that in the hopes of pleasing our parents. It is a survival mechanism. So now, you've probably heard of exercises where you look at yourself in the mirror and you tell yourself how beautiful you are. And you may say things like, I'm a beautiful person. Or you've been told to do positive affirmations in the first person. I'm happy, I'm successful, I have a lot of money. But I'm here to tell you that there's a much better way to do that. And that is to become Echo. But when you are Echo, you only say the truth that is empowering. So let me give you an example. Imagine you can think of anybody you want in your life. Think of somebody in your life that you don't like or is damaging to you or is abusive to you or whatever. You fill in the blank. Whoever that person is. Now, I can tell you absolutely without any question whatsoever that if that is a human being, the essence of that human being is a perfect, divine, infinite soul. They're in a human body and they're living out a story. Like in the myth, Narcissus was cursed. That's his story. He was given a story. You will never be able to know who you are. He bought it. If you want to know anything about curses only work if you accept them. So on an unconscious level, he accepted the curse. Let's just for argument's say that his mother told him when he was an infant, you've been cursed. You'll never know who you are. And in order to please his mom, he accepts that story, lives out the rest of his life and becomes a narcissist. Becomes the first narcissist. Certainly not the first, but. So you have stories. And the person that's come to mind to you that you don't like or is abusive to you, that person is living a story in their human reality, but their soul is perfect. Their soul is pure light, pure love, pure bliss. If you don't understand this, I can accept that. If you have a hard time accepting this think of the most evil person you can think of. Hitler, Stalin, whomever. Hitler and Stalin both had perfect, infinite souls of light. They lived in human beings who had these very negative stories that they just bought into and believed. And they lived those negative stories out. So projection is that. Anybody who is abusive, they are projecting outward the inward self-negative talk that's going on all the time. People who are critical of others, they're just spewing out, just like echo, they're just echoing out to others the self-criticism that's going on inside of them all the time. So, knowing that, think about your least favorite abusive person and know no matter how abusive they are, no matter how destructive, no matter how dysfunctional they are, that underneath that story of dysfunction is a soul that is perfect, that is divine, that is infinite. If that person's body and their story were to disappear, I kid you not, the being that would arise in front of you, you would want to get on your knees and worship it. It would be so beautiful. It would be so full of love. That is the truth of every single human being on the planet, not just about you, but every other human being that exists. So, the fifth dimensional echo principle is that you do the opposite. When somebody is abusive to you, you find an authentic truth, even if that authentic truth is just the knowledge that their soul is beautiful. And you could say, like Echo, they say something like, I hate your guts. You do the fifth dimensional Echo version and you speak the authentic truth that is empowering. And if the only thing you can think of is what I've just told you, and just the belief that, okay, underneath all of that really destructive, hurtful stuff is there's a perfect soul in there. The response is, and you have a beautiful, perfect soul. When you think of that person, you must think of them in that way. You think of the abuse, you think of the harm, you think of the anger, and instead of buying into the story that they're trying to convince you of, they're trying to convince you of a story. In fact, they're going to such lengths that they're abusive and hurtful to you so that you will believe that they are these horrible monsters. They're trying to convince you of that because that's the story that they are living. And instead, in your mind, when you think of the pain, you think of the resentment, you think of all of that, you don't excuse it. I'm not telling you to forget it and excuse it. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying, and even though all of those things are true, you say to them in your mind, you send the energy, and you have a perfect, beautiful, infinite soul. Now keep going with that. You have a perfect, beautiful, infinite soul. And you have the ability to become the most beautiful, loving, kind, happy individual that's ever existed. Your divine, perfect, infinite soul gives you the ability to be the king of the universe. You can go on and on and on, and you won't be lying. You won't be making things up. You know the difference. You know the story that they're playing out. You know what they're doing in the 3D, but you know in the fifth dimension what is true. Now, this is the echo principle. So what happens is, while you're doing this, the web of weird is surrounding you and witnessing, and is a conscious being watching all of this. And every time that you say to somebody who is in the 3D being abusive, when you say to them, even if it's in your mind, you say, and you have a perfect, beautiful soul. You have the ability to be the most prosperous, the most happy, the most healthy, the most loving individual that's ever walked the earth. What is happening is that the 3D matrix is echoing that back to you. So this is why it has to be outward. It's not inward. This is why when you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, I'm rich, I'm happy, I'm successful, it doesn't have the same effect because it doesn't bounce back. Because if you say that to the other person as they're sitting there and they're calling you names, you're a horrible person, you say, I have a beautiful soul, and they respond back and they go, I know, I have a beautiful soul. But if they respond back and you say, you have a beautiful soul, then the echo principle says to you, you have a beautiful soul, and that energy comes to you. So then take that principle into your entire life. You're walking down the street and you say to the sky, I love you. The sky has the echo principle and will echo back to you, I love you. If you say to the sky, you are absolutely beautiful, I enjoy being with you all the time. The sky says, I love being with you all the time. You walk past people in your mind, you say, you're a beautiful soul. I love looking at you. I think you're amazing. You have the potential to be the most brilliant individual on earth. All of these thoughts are echoing back to you in that form. You are the most beautiful. You are the most prosperous. If prosperity is your issue and you have a hard time bringing money into your life, then you spend time telling people, start a channel, start a YouTube channel. It says that you are prosperous. And say, come on to my channel, give me your name. And they'll say, hi, my name is so-and-so. And you say, so-and-so, you have an infinite soul that is almighty and all-powerful. You have the ability to be the most prosperous person in the universe. The web of weird bounces that right back at you. It will erase your negative story. It will erase your negative programming. And if you do it enough, there's no way that it can't come back to you. But it has to be that you are actually giving it to other people. That you are choosing to say this to people, and you have to find something about it that you know is true. Now, again, if you can't see anything of value in the person in front of you, not a problem. You already know that their soul is infinite and perfect and beautiful and is equal to yours. So you talk to their soul. Even if it's just in your mind, you talk directly to their soul. And bear in mind that the opposite is true. If a narcissist comes and says, you're a horrible person, and you get hurt by that and you say, no, you're the horrible person, guess what happens? That, no, you're the horrible person is going to come back at you, and then you'll believe it. Then you'll have two people telling you you're a horrible person, and you'll believe it. Because that's how the echo principle works. You some narcissist is intimidated by you. Listen, if you start your own business, if you start your own YouTube channel, that's what's going to happen. People who are insecure are going to attack you, especially in the beginning. They're going to start telling you, you don't know what you're talking about. And instead of responding back to them negatively, somebody says, you don't know what you're talking about, you say, and you have a beautiful soul, and you have the ability to be the most knowledgeable person in the world if you follow your soul. There's nothing untrue about that. You haven't bought into anything they've said. You haven't given them anything. You have told them the authentic truth. It's up to them to decide to accept that story or not. But you're not going to buy into their fake story. You're not going to buy into it. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you should go hang out with abusive people. Abusive people, you don't spend time with them. You don't give them your energy. Don't respond. But in your mind, at the very least, you do that. This is something I've been doing without realizing it in one area. Of course, I can improve just like everybody else, but people come and attack me on the channel and say, I don't know what I'm talking about. And I'll say, look, don't waste your time arguing with me. Start your own channel. The fact that you want to attack me and criticize me for my knowledge means that that's how you feel about yourself. And whether or not you and I agree, who cares? Start your own channel. Tell people the truth. Teach people your truth. That's what I tell people who tell me I shouldn't be on here teaching. It's because I know that's their own self-talk. And how do you respond to that? How can somebody respond to that? Seriously, what are they going to say? There's nothing. It destroys what they're trying to do, which is they're trying to get you to believe their story. And when you say, listen, I'm not going to buy into that story. That may be what's going on in your external world. That may be the way that you're acting. But I know actually underneath it, you have an infinite, beautiful, all-loving, blissful soul that has the ability to make you the most knowledgeable, successful person in existence. Whether they follow through on that, it's completely out of your control. So that is what I am suggesting that you do as a New Year's resolution. Take this echo manifestation principle and understand that it is not I am rich, I am good. No, it is you are rich, you are beautiful, you are good, you are loving, you are amazing, you're healthy. It's health. You have a health issue. Then you say to the universe every chance you get, you are vibrantly healthy. Doesn't matter. You're walking, you look at a plant, you go to say to the plant, you are a beautiful, healthy plant. I can tell you for a fact that the plant will hear you and will bless you in response. You say it to the animals. You say it to the birds. You can say it to people. You're not comfortable with that, you can just think it in your mind. Send it to them. In meditation, here's one of the most powerful, if you want to try this, if you want to change somebody, you can't do it, by the way, just to let you know. But this may have an effect. I've actually been able to see changes in people when I've done this. If let's say you've got a relationship, let's say you're married, and in your marriage, your partner is not treating you as well as you'd like. You keep trying to get them to change and they won't change. So here's what you do. In meditation, you go and talk to their soul. You can go and talk to the soul of your partner, your wife, your husband, and you say to that soul, you are so beautiful. You are so amazing. It would make me happy if you could share some of that with me. If you could share some of that love and that nurturing. I see you this way. You're this amazing, beautiful, wonderful person. And send them unconditional love. Send them everything you want for yourself. Health, happiness, prosperity, fulfillment. Send that without any expectation. And watch what happens. You will see. It will work with some people. Maybe not everybody. But I guarantee you some people will just one day shift on you. They'll show up and they'll say, you know, I was thinking about you the other day. They weren't. You were meditating and they felt it. I was thinking about you the other day and I came to realize, you know, you're actually a really nice person and I haven't been treating you right. Look, give it a try. You've got nothing to lose. But do you understand how that works? That's how echo works. If you use you phrases, you are beautiful, you are wonderful, then that's what the universe tells you. And when the universe tells it to you, there will be energy attached to it. And I've come to realize that that's what my higher dimensional friends do. They never say anything, the slightest bit critical, not one thing. And they never find any fault with anybody, no matter how horrible they may be. They never find anything. They have no judgment whatsoever. They only have compassion. And if you reach out to them with your feelings, with your limitations, they will rush to empower you. And we human beings are in training to be those guys. So if you want to bring 5D here on Earth now, because that's what 5D will be like, people will only be saying, encouraging, truthful, authentic, empowering things to each other. It's the only way that people will be communicating in 5D. If you want to bring 5D here now, that's how you do it. All right. Hopefully I've explained that the way I want. And again, before I go any further, I did just upload an interdimensional meditation that uses this principle. I used it on myself. I healed myself of some physical pain immediately when I did it. And so I'm sharing it with you. You can go to the interdimensional shamanic journey meditation course at thunderwizard.com. I recommend you subscribe at the lightning qigong level. That's just $1 more. If you don't like it, you can unsubscribe whenever you want. Courses.thunderwizard.com. All of my courses, all of my video teachings, and of course my books can be found at michaelwilliamdenny.com, or you can just look them up. Interdimensional Revolution is now on audiobook as well as paperback. Audiobooks.thunderwizard.com, or just look for it on Amazon. And of course we have the 90-day challenge. I dare you to sign up for the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. Just simply press play, do it every day, do whatever you're comfortable with. You don't have to do all 3 daily things that I offer. You can if you want, but I guarantee you if you do that 90-day challenge, you will not come back to me and say that your life is worse than it was before. You'll tell me that major things have shifted within you, and you will be actually that much closer to making yourself ready for the intense energy upgrade that is coming for us. All right, now I'll open it up for questions. If you have a question, write the word question in all caps and then ask your question. And if you have any feelings, please write the word feeling and share your honest feelings. All right, let me get rid of a troll here just a second. You guys can't see it, which is good. So, boink, we'll just get rid of that. All right, we've got Tejananda came on and asked a question even before I started, I think. He says, I always experience uncomfortable manifestations when adding the Hands of Infinity from Phase 3 in the Warrior Lightning Qigong. The butterfly set is wonderful. Is this normal? So the butterfly set is different, but connected. They're very similar. But I don't know what uncomfortable manifestations means. Do you mean you have uncomfortable physical manifestations? That could mean all kinds of things. If you're talking about, just having more energy in the hands, tingling, that's normal. There sometimes might be pain in like joints, like knuckles or things like that. And what that means is that the energy meridians are blocked, and the energy is coming through and it's sort of hitting a block, sort of like when you have a kink in your garden hose. And what will happen is if you keep doing the practice and relax your mind, the energy meridians will unkink, and then the energy will flow through, and then that discomfort will disappear. So whatever uncomfortable physical sensations, if that's what you're talking about, just continue to practice. Back off a little bit if you need to. Give your body the chance to absorb the energy. If you're talking about emotional uncomfortability, that's also part of it, because all of the story I was talking about, that negative story, when you do the lightning qigong, that negative story will become more conscious. You will become more consciously aware. The first thing, though, is you'll start to feel the negativity of the story. And then as you meditate through it, you realize that's just a story. That's a story that was given to me, and I bought into it because I wanted to be accepted. And I don't want that anymore. And then the story will continue to fade, and then you can... we're either going to be following one of two storylines. The storyline that you were given and the storyline that is within you. The storyline that is within you is the one that you want. That is what I call your soul desire. So you're going to be playing out one of these two stories, and the one we want is our soul desire. And the whole point of the lightning qigong is to get you so that you can feel what your authentic life story is, and then go after that. And that, of course, will bring you all of the energy. It will bring you health, will bring you happiness, will bring you prosperity, will bring you love, will bring you fulfillment. Thundra says hello, thundra.thunderwizard.com, thundra.thunderwizard.com. She is one of my Vedic astrologers, and she's a very talented shamaness in her own right. Vincent.thunderwizard.com says, hello Mahadeva. He is one of my Vedic astrologers. And also, you can see on here all of the amazing stuff that he does. You can check him out at vincent.thunderwizard.com. All right. So Crypto Knight, that's almost like a feeling. And I don't see any other questions here. So are we done with, do we not have any questions? I'm happy to leave it at that. Did I make it clear? I tried to make it as clear as I could. Those of you who are subscribed to the Lightning Qigong, or at the very least at the Manifestation Mastery course, you can go do that interdimensional echo principle meditation. It's really something. The power that we have just right now, if we choose to start learning how to go into higher dimensions, the power that we have, first and foremost, to change ourselves is absolutely unbelievable. But we also have a tremendous ability to change manifested reality. And I'm imagining what would happen if we got 1% of the population doing these kinds of meditations. I mean, the world would shift, would go right up into 5D. It would be an immediate thing. All right, I'm trying to give you guys some time. I don't see any questions, so I guess we're done. Happy New Year. It's 11:30 p.m. where I'm at, so in 30 minutes, it will be the next year. I myself will be grateful of that. This has been a challenging year in a bunch of different ways. I can't wait to get back to my adopted new home. I'm traveling back to Australia in less than a month. I can't wait. So wish me well on that. And if you decide to make this your New Year's resolution, the Echo Principle, let me know about it, and share in the comments section of the videos how it's been helpful for you. Timothy Zoll has an honest feeling. He says, looking forward to the new meditation. Good. I hope it works for you. Okay, that's it, guys. I wish you all the best. Again, the books are there, Interdimensional Revolution, and the new course, Interdimensional Shamanic Journey Meditation course. And, of course, a bunch of other books are coming up. You can look for them there. And that's it. I wish you guys all the best. Happy New Year. Each one of you listening to me, each one of you has an unbelievably powerful, infinite light within you, which is your soul. You have the infinite power of all of the gods within you. You have the ability to be the most beautiful, the most healthy, the most prosperous, the most brilliant, the most successful being that has ever existed. You have this within you. And I honor that within you, and I encourage you to continue to bless the entire multiverse with the infinite beauty that is within you. Thank you so much for showing up. I will see you guys all next time.